If polymer clay slabs have ever felt overwhelming or too complicated, this video is for you. I'm going to show you a simple, flexible method that uses tools, designs, and colors you probably already have. And by the end, you'll have a method that you can truly make your own with lots of ideas for how to use it. Hey there, Sandy here with another polymer clay video at keepsakecrafts.net. The first thing you need to do, the first step, is to choose your color scheme. It could definitely be a seasonal theme, fall colors, summer, whatever you want. If you're stumped for color choices, consider going to an inspiration board. I have a color inspiration board, on Pinterest that I turn to all the time. Just sometimes so that I don't use the same old colors in every single project. I will share that link. And I settled on this color scheme. It's called Chartreuse and Plum. I kind of went off on those colors, not exactly the same. It just gives you a place to start. And I settled on these colors, kind of purple and fuchsia and a chartreuse. Instead of solid black for the dark, I mixed some black with silver. I just love this kind of sparkly charcoal color. It's a little bit softer than just stark black. Some tips for you for color mixing. You can do it instinctively, which I often do, but the drawback to that method is that you often end up mixing far more clay than you need for your project before you reach the color that you want. So what I suggest is that you do tests in small amounts. Just roll out all of your clay to a single thickness, it doesn't really matter what. Then choose a single cutter, again it doesn't really matter what, and cut pieces out. So I started off, this is straight wasabi. So then I mixed 2 circles of the wasabi with 1 of my zinc yellow. And this was the resulting color. And one way you can keep track of what you've done, what you've mixed, is just to look at the holes cut out of the sheet. So here I can plainly see I cut out 2 green and 1 yellow. So then I thought it still needed to be more yellow, so I mixed a 1-to-1 ratio, and that was the result. And then finally I settled on the 2 yellow to 1 green. And by doing this, I didn't use a lot of clay, and now I know the exact proportions, and in order to mix this exact color, you can just use a larger cutter and roll out and mix the quantity that you need. And if you really, really want to test your colors, you may want to bake some samples of these colors and see what you get, because often they do darken after being baked in the oven. Another thing to think about when choosing colors is the proportion of each color. These don't look so fantastic right here because they're fairly equal amounts of each. Instead, you want to consider having varying proportions like 70-20-10. So 70% of one color, 20 of another, and then just 10 of that accent. You don't have to measure it, but just having in mind that you're going to get better results with just smaller amounts of accent colors. Also, it's good to have contrast, so you can have a light and a dark and some mediums and medium darks and medium lights. I'm also going to add white to this mix. In fact, you could say I'm going to add white to this blend, because although these colors look nice as it is, and I showed you these examples where these pieces were used with the colors straight, and this one is okay too. It's the same, just with the solid colors, and it looks a whole lot better with some antiquing. I thought they were just kind of dull and boring. So I took these exact same colors and made blends with them. Just blending into white, blending into each other. I've added in some of the yellow and my mixed wasabi and yellow into white, and even my charcoal to white to get a nice gray gradient that helps subdue some of these really bright colors. Once your colors are chosen, you'll want to consider shape and scale. What is it that you're planning to cut out from this slab? You're going to make something very different if you're planning to cut shapes of this size than of this size, or even these sizes. You have different considerations for your slab. So have an idea of what it is that you want to do with it. And even if you are cutting out a shape this size, you can certainly add smaller motifs, like I did here, cutting out this little flower just to add something up in that corner. So having a variety of shapes that you like. Most of the shapes that I like tend to be rounded and organic, but if you like them geometric or square, then choose shapes like that. whatever suits your personal aesthetic. Now let's have some real fun and talk about texture. Before we go any further, I need to take a moment to thank my amazing patrons. You're seeing their names on the screen right now, and truly, without their support, these videos would not be possible. If you're enjoying this kind of content and want to keep it coming for everyone, join us over on Patreon. It's a really special, encouraging creative space, and I'd love to have you there. And now let's get back to the video. Texture is one of many creators' favorite things about creating. You don't have to have fancy tools. I used to do a lot of scrapbooking, and I've saved many of my stamps because things like this make wonderful tools. Again, considering the scale that you're working on and how that's going to work. So you can definitely use something like a rubber stamp, a clear stamp, any stamp, to create a beautiful texture. And you don't have to use the whole thing, you can use parts of it. You can make your own texturing tools with just simple household items. This is a piece of a 1/2-inch wooden dowel, badly cut, wrapped with string. And you get a really amazing texture. In fact, I like this texture so much, I mixed up some silicone molding putty and then rolled it in a sheet and rolled this across it and let it cure, and now I have a texture sheet so I can get that texture anywhere I want. And that way I went the other direction and to create even something different and new. You can use tools to make a texture, a needle tool, or this is just an awl, and if you don't have one of these, you could use a toothpick and you could make lines or draw designs. This is a knitting needle. Again, you can draw the lines and you can see they're a little wider and softer. You can use it to make dots. This is another texture tool I really love. It is simply 3 sewing needles. And I got a little fancy with this, but you just wrap them with some wire and then embed them in clay and bake it. And now you have these triple lines that you can make. You can use it for all kinds of things. You can press it. You can make dots, triple dots. You can make lines that look like a row of stitching if you do it better than I'm doing here. Another fantastic texture tool that you can purchase on Amazon for very little money. It was Ginger Davis Allman at the Blue Bottle Tree that turned me on to these. These are leather stamps, and I absolutely love using them for texture. And be on the lookout for crazy things. This is a garlic mincer, I think. My son got this for me. It's not fantastic as a garlic mincer, but it's pretty cool as a texture. Look at that, the hexagon texture. Isn't that awesome? Or even a comb. This is, I'm not even sure. But you can press it in and have those dotted lines like stitching lines, or you can draw it along. If you don't have any of those tools, but you have maybe just one small set of cutters, you could simply use your cutter to make a texture. In fact, you could make a pattern with it. Isn't that cool? What I would recommend you do is basically what I'm doing here. Roll out a sheet of clay, gather up a bunch of things that you think might be interesting, and then start to play. Here's something else. This is one of those bitty screwdriver sets. These are little itty bitty Phillips heads. And you get these stars. Or you can use the slotted screwdriver and get dotted lines. How fun is that? And on that same theme, this is a kit of tools for repairing computers, which I've repaired my computer on occasion with this. But then I realized these are all star chips of various sizes. So you can get different stars. You can also just take your clay blade, probably the back of it would work best, and use that to make lines. You can make them parallel, fan out, I mean, how cool is that? So my point is, go through your house, look around, and gather just a few things. You don't need all of this that I just showed you, but gather a few that speak to you at the moment. You can always pull out more if you need something smaller or larger, or if you need something more linear or more organic. So let's put all this together now. You'll want to start out with a base for your slab, and again, keep in mind the size and scale of what you're going to cut out of it. Don't make something so huge that it will take you forever to fill it up. This is a 4x4 tile, so maybe a 3.5-inch square. This is my black and silver mixed together to give that nice charcoal. And look, I got a free texture. I had these stored before I brought them to record with, stacked on top of each other, and I got that hexagon texture from the back of the tile. I was like, okay, that can stay. Nothing wrong with that. But what I want to do is just add something more to the background, and I'm just a very loose, linear texture. It's nice to mix the scale of your textures. So you don't want them all, kind of like mixing prints in clothing. You don't want them all organic, or you don't want to mix all florals, but if you mix florals and checks, that can work. It's kind of the same idea. You want to mix some straight lines with some curved ones, some larger scale with some small scale. So this is a good background texture to start laying things on. What I've done here is created a palette for myself of colors and textures, and all of these have been rolled out to about 1 millimeter thick because I'm going to be layering them on top of each other, so I didn't want it to end up too bulky. So this one I left without any texture. We can add that after adding to the piece. This one got the garlic press honeycomb, the string on a dowel, the flower stamps, and this one got a crisscross with the fine comb. So again, a variety of scale. This is a pretty fine scale. This is larger. These are medium. That remains to be seen. So now you can start cutting out some shapes as your foundation. Anything you want, anything that appeals to you. I kind of like this long oval, so I think I'm going to cut a few pieces from this and then just place them on my sheet. And we don't have to be super picky about the placement because remember, we're going to cut this up into individual shapes when we're done. You don't have to cut all the same shape either. You can cut different ones. I just kind of, it's easy. You grab one cutter, you make a bunch of shapes, you go to town, that's all. Don't forget your edges. It's easy to do, to focus on the center, and then you have nothing, you end up having nothing interesting going on the edges. You end up with less usable slab. Let's cut some strips. Again, just a thickness that is in proportion to what you're doing. Now you could definitely use that ragged edge, but I don't think I want to. I think I'm going to cut kind of a tapered piece. And sort of use these pieces as a guide. You can go around them, you can go over them, whatever you want. You can also take that tapered end and play with it. Make shapes, that's kind of fun. Now for me, I love swirls and spirals and curls, so I love kind of giving it that tapered point that I can play with. So let's come from a different direction. And I'm kind of looking at, I've got a dark one here, so I'm going to start with a light. And I started on that side, so for this one I'll start on a different side. And kind of hugging or echoing those shapes that I put down. I maybe don't want to bisect one of them perfectly in the middle, and maybe I want to clean that up a little. We got some bright stuff going on. Let's go for a little contrast. Plenty of dark on the background, so I think I'm going to taper it this way. Let's come in from a different side. Oh, that's interesting. So you're just looking for interesting shapes, interesting contrast. Maybe I'll just tuck it there like it's disappearing under there. Got nothing going on in this corner, so put that there. And I like that curlicue, so I don't want to just make it go away. So let's do something else. And that's fine. It can go off the edge. Now you don't have to do strips. I just found this was an easy way to get an interesting kind of interwoven look. You could just do all shapes. You could do big shapes, little shapes. And at any point you can stop and texture these further. Actually, it's not a bad idea. It's kind of easier to get at them before you've added lots and lots of layers. I really like this stamp. Now if those cut edges are bothering you, which they kind of bother me, you can do lots of things to blend them in. Just one of these little screwdrivers, maybe a slightly larger one. You can come in and add like stitching lines. This is why it's maybe a good idea to go in and do some of this before these get completely covered with other pieces of clay. This is where that 3 needle tool comes in really handy. I love the way it looks when I just kind of lay it at about a 45-degree angle and then use that to press on edges. And now it's blended in. You can also use the knitting needle, and they come in lots of different sizes, of course. And you carry on. You can blend the edges as much or as little as you like. Every so often you might want to pull out one of your shapes and see if you're coming up, that's kind of interesting, coming up with something you like. This is a really fun exercise in finding the composition. Find one that works for you. And when you're done, you may have something like this. Now these edges are an absolute mess because I just wasn't sure how big I wanted to make it, so I left them to cut away later. Just all kinds of textures with the leather stamping tool, the knitting needle, all sorts of things, and then you can come in and start playing with your shapes and see what there is. Another reason I left a fair amount of this black hanging over is that I really like the look of some of that background, just a little bit of relief from all the busyness. So that gives you that edge. I wish there was a size between this one and this one. Yeah, that swirl really attracts me. So then the best way to cut this out is if you have a template like this, it works really well. If you have this set that has 2 pieces, this is fantastic. But you can use one like this and just use a needle tool. I want my piece to be a little bigger, so I am going to cut on the outside of the shape. I'm going to use that to kind of mark my place. And you can use a craft knife or a fine needle tool and cut out your shapes. And take your time, keep your blade perpendicular. And if you have a template like this, be careful you're not pressing too hard and squishing your design underneath. And one more tip, if you're doing like an irregular, oh, I like that, isn't that cool? Just gonna fix that shape a little bit. If you're doing where you're cutting shapes out of the center, you probably want to pull them out after each choice, because otherwise you may find that you ended up cutting off a piece of one you really liked by mistake because you couldn't see where a previous cut was. Now you've got a simple slab method to build from, but the next step is learning how to create meaningful texture that really brings your designs to life. In the video on screen, I'll show you how to create unique surface designs using ordinary household objects. See you in the next video.